as I stood at my office window on the 52nd floor of Manhattan's gleaming Tower 1, watching the city lights flicker to life in the gathering dusk. My mind wandered back to where it all began. The view from up here made everything look small, even the memories that once seemed so overwhelming. I was always the second best child in my family, though my parents never said it outright. Their actions, their glances, their subtle sighs, they all told the story louder than words ever could. My brother Thomas, 2 years my senior, was their golden child, their firstborn, their pride and joy. In their eyes, he could do no wrong. Christmas of 1999 remains etched in my memory. I was 7, and Thomas was 9. It was the first time I truly understood my place in the family hierarchy. I had spent weeks crafting handmade presents for everyone. For Mom, a painted ceramic bowl I'd made in art class. For Dad, a photo frame decorated with seashells we'd collected during our summer vacation. The morning light filtered through the frost-covered windows as we gathered around the Christmas tree. Thomas went first, as always.
Oh, look what Santa brought you, Thomas. The new PlayStation. And all these games.
You've been such a good boy this year, son. You deserve it.
When my turn came, I received a generic doll and some colored pencils. But it wasn't the presents that hurt. It was what happened next.
Mom, Dad, I made these for you.
I remember how my small hands trembled as I presented my carefully wrapped gifts. Mom barely glanced at the bowl before setting it aside.
That's nice, dear. Thomas, honey, let's set up your PlayStation.
Dad's frame ended up at the bottom of a drawer, never to see the light of day again. But Thomas's crayon scribble of a football field was immediately hung on the refrigerator. That same winter, another memory stands out. The day that crystallized our family's double standards. Thomas was showing off his new baseball pitch in the living room.
Mom, Dad, watch this.
The crystal vase that had been Mom's wedding gift went flying, shattering into 1,000 pieces on the hardwood floor.
Oh, sweetie, accidents happen. You're getting so strong with your pitching. We'll have to practice outside next time.
Mom had said, ruffling his hair affectionately. But just a week later, when I accidentally knocked over my glass of grape juice on the cream carpet.
Margaret, how could you be so careless? Go get the cleaning supplies right now.
I was grounded for a week, while Thomas's baseball-induced destruction had been met with kisses and praise. These double standards colored every aspect of my childhood. Thomas would bring home C's on his report card, and our parents would say he was just focusing on sports. But when I got an A- instead of an A+, the disappointment in their eyes was palpable.
You could do better if you actually tried, Margaret.
The only person who truly saw me was my grandmother, Rose. Living just 3 blocks away, Grandma Rose's house became my sanctuary, my escape from the suffocating atmosphere at home. Every Saturday morning, while Thomas had his baseball practice and my parents cheered from the bleachers, I would slip away to Grandma Rose's cozy Victorian house with its wraparound porch and garden full of roses. "There's my little scientist," she would greet me, already wearing her flour-dusted apron. Our Saturday baking sessions were more than just cooking lessons. They were life lessons wrapped in the warmth of her kitchen.
You see, Margaret, baking is just like science. It's all about precise measurements, chemical reactions, and most importantly, patience. One particular Saturday stands out in my memory. I was 11, and I'd just received my first perfect score on a science test. Mom and Dad didn't even look at it when I showed them.
I confessed, fighting back tears as we kneaded bread dough together.
Then they're missing out on seeing something extraordinary. Not just the test, but you, my darling girl.
She wiped her hands on her apron and disappeared into her study, returning with a beautiful leather-bound notebook.
I was saving this for your birthday, but I think you need it now. Every great scientist needs a proper laboratory notebook.
That notebook became my treasure. I filled it with experiments, observations, and dreams. Grandma Rose would read every entry, asking questions that made me think deeper, challenging me to explore further. She attended every science fair, debate competition, and academic ceremony, events my parents always seemed too busy to attend. While they filled our family room with Thomas's sports trophies, Grandma Rose created a special shelf in her study for my academic awards.
Your mind is your greatest gift, Margaret. Don't let anyone dim your light,
she would say, helping me practice debate speeches or review mathematical formulas. Those quiet afternoons in her study, surrounded by books and unconditional love, shaped who I would become. During my 13th summer, she taught me about investing while we tended her rose garden.
See these rose bushes? I planted them as tiny shoots, and now look at them. That's what smart investments do. They grow slowly, but surely, just like you're doing.
She explained concepts like compound interest and diversification in ways that made perfect sense, using her own life experiences as examples.
Your grandfather and I started with nothing, but we were patient and smart with our money. That's how we built everything we have.
It was during these conversations that I first dreamed of a future in business and finance. Grandma Rose didn't just listen to my dreams. She nurtured them, fed them, helped them grow. Every birthday, while my parents were too busy to celebrate, Grandma Rose made it special. She would bake my favorite lemon raspberry cake, decorated with fresh roses from her garden.
Make a wish, my precious girl. And remember, some wishes aren't just dreams, they're plans waiting to happen.
Even when she attended Thomas's games and brought him cookies too, she made sure I never felt second best in her eyes. She had enough love for both of us, but she understood I needed it more. The summer I turned 14, everything changed. I noticed it first during our Saturday baking session. Grandma Rose had to sit down more often, and her hands trembled as she measured the flour.
Just a bit tired today, sweetheart. Nothing to worry about.
But there was plenty to worry about. 2 weeks later, we got the diagnosis: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctor's grim expressions told us what they weren't saying aloud. I started spending every afternoon at the hospital, doing my homework in the uncomfortable chair beside her bed. While the monitors beeped steadily, she would tell me stories about her youth.
Did I ever tell you about the time I started my first business? It was a flower stand right after the war.
She shared tales of determination, of facing discrimination as a woman in business, of never giving up. Even from her hospital bed, she was teaching me. Sorry I can't visit more often, Grandma. Coach says these practices are crucial for the Scouts.
Thomas needs to focus on his future, dear. The college scouts are coming to watch him play,
Mom would say, as if my daily hospital visits weren't affecting my future too. But I couldn't bear the thought of Grandma Rose being alone. One particularly difficult evening, when the pain medication made her drowsy but not enough to sleep, she asked me to read from her favorite book of poems.
You have such a lovely reading voice, Margaret. Promise me you'll always speak up, make yourself heard.
Then came the evening that would change everything. Grandma Rose called our whole family to her hospital room. Her voice was weak but determined as she gripped Dad's hand.
Robert, I need you to promise me something about my inheritance.
The room fell silent except for the steady beeping of monitors. Mom stopped scrolling through her phone, and even Thomas looked up from his sports magazine.
Promise me you'll use it for both of their educations. Both Thomas and Margaret need to go to college.
Her eyes, though tired, were sharp as she looked at each of us in turn.
Margaret has such a brilliant mind. She could do amazing things with the right education.
Of course, Mom. I promise you, right here in front of everyone, that your inheritance will go to both Thomas's and Margaret's education."
Margaret, come here, darling.
She pressed something into my hand. Her old locket, the one she always wore.
Remember what I taught you. Your mind is your greatest asset. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
3 days later, she was gone. The world felt colder, dimmer without her in it. After Grandma Rose passed, I threw myself into my studies with even more determination. The leather-bound notebook she'd given me became my lifeline, filled now with not just experiments, but also memories of her. My report cards were filled with A's, but at home, they ended up buried under takeout menus and Thomas's football schedules. The only person who would have proudly displayed them was no longer there to do so. In my sophomore year, I joined the debate club, despite my hands shaking every time I had to speak in public. I would clutch Grandma Rose's locket before each debate, drawing strength from her memory.
Project your voice, Margaret. You have brilliant arguments. Let them hear them.
My debate coach would say, echoing Grandma Rose's words about making myself heard. Gradually, my voice grew stronger, though at home it remained as silent as ever. I started staying late at school, working on a special science project. The idea had come from one of Grandma Rose's stories about the Victory Gardens during the war. I developed a vertical hydroponic system that could grow vegetables in small urban spaces, using minimal water and recycled materials. The project consumed my evenings and weekends for months.
This is remarkable work, Margaret. You should enter it in the state science fair.
When I won first place at the state science fair, the local newspaper ran an article about it. "Local student revolutionizes urban farming," the headline read. I left the newspaper on Dad's desk, but it disappeared under a pile of papers, unread. Meanwhile, Thomas's every football game was marked on our family calendar with bright red circles. That spring, I was selected as one of 10 students nationwide to participate in a prestigious science camp at MIT. The acceptance letter came with a full scholarship.
But that's during Thomas's championship game. We need you to help set up the celebration party.
I went to the camp anyway. For 2 weeks, I worked alongside other young scientists, developing solutions for real-world problems. For the first time since Grandma Rose died, I felt truly alive.
You have a remarkable mind, Margaret. We'll be watching your career with great interest.
Then came Thomas's graduation. Our usually quiet house transformed into party central. Mom spent weeks planning every detail, from the catering to the decorations. The backyard was packed with relatives, friends, and what seemed like half the neighborhood. Dad stood up, clinking his glass for attention.
"We are so proud of you, son. Not only has our boy graduated, but he's also heading to Westbrook University this fall. And thanks to Mom's inheritance, we've been able to secure Thomas's future at one of the best colleges in the country."
I stood in the corner, the words "Mom's inheritance" echoing in my ears. I touched Grandma Rose's locket, remembering her final wish. The metal felt cold against my skin. In my senior year, while my parents were busy visiting Thomas at college, I worked on my college applications in solitude. Each essay was crafted with the same precision Grandma Rose had taught me in her kitchen. My acceptance letters started arriving on a crisp spring morning. First came Redwood State University with a full scholarship and free dorm accommodation. I sat on my bed, reading their praise of my academic achievements and leadership potential, wishing Grandma Rose could see this moment. Then came the letter I'd been dreaming of, Sterling College, with its prestigious business program. The same program Grandma Rose had once mentioned during our garden talks.
Remember those investors who used to visit your grandfather? They all came from Sterling. That school teaches more than just business. It teaches vision.
I waited until my parents returned from their latest visit to Thomas. the sterling acceptance letter was safely tucked in my desk drawer, Redwood's offer hidden as my backup plan. That evening, during a rare moment of silence at dinner, I gathered my courage to speak. I got accepted to Sterling College. Their business program is highly ranked.
That's nice, dear.
Mom barely looked up from her phone, where she was scrolling through photos of Thomas at a college party. I'd need to pay tuition. I was hoping we could use my portion of Grandma Rose's inheritance.
Oh, honey.
We don't have money for your college tuition.
The words hit me like a physical blow. But Grandma Rose's inheritance. She made you promise. We were all there. You, Mom, Thomas, me. She made you swear you'd use the money for both our educations.
Thomas needed the extra support. College is so expensive these days, and he has his football career to think about.
I just didn't want to upset my mother in her final days. We knew from the start we wouldn't be giving you any of that money.
I touched Grandma Rose's locket, feeling her strength flow through me. 18 years of being invisible, of swallowing my words, of accepting their neglect. It all came rushing out. You're nothing but liars who betrayed your own mother's dying wish. She believed in me. She believed in education, and you've dishonored everything she stood for.
Get out.
His words cut through the air like ice.
You heard your father. You're 18 now, an adult. If you're so independent that you can talk to us this way, you can take care of yourself.
Before I could respond, Mom dragged me upstairs to my room. She yanked my old suitcase from under the bed and threw it at my feet.
Pack your things. I want you out of here first thing tomorrow morning.
I stood frozen, watching as she pulled open my drawers. My own parents were throwing me out, just as I was about to begin my future. I packed in silence, clothes, books, my laptop, and most importantly, Grandma Rose's notebook and locket. Mom stood in the doorway watching, arms crossed. When my suitcase was full, I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend Rachel, whose parents had always shown me kindness. Can I come over? It's important.
Of course, doors open.
Rachel's parents had given her a small apartment for her 18th birthday. She took one look at my face and suitcase and pulled me into a tight hug.
Tell me everything.
That night, as we sat on her couch drinking hot chocolate, I opened Grandma Rose's notebook. Between the pages of experiments and observations, I found an envelope I'd never noticed before. Inside was a letter, written in her elegant handwriting, and a bank statement. My dearest Margaret, if you're reading this, I'm no longer there to protect you, but I've always known you might need a safety net. This account is in your name, my last gift to my brilliant granddaughter. The account didn't hold enough for Sterling's full tuition, but combined with Redwood State scholarship, it would be enough to start my new life. That night, I made my decision. I would accept Redwood State's offer. But first, I needed to learn to stand on my own feet. The summer job at Riverside Cafe became my first step toward independence. Between taking orders and balancing trays, I learned more than just how to make the perfect latte. You have a good head for business, Margaret. The way you reorganized our inventory system saved us thousands. My tips went straight into a savings account, growing dollar by dollar. Every night, I'd count my earnings, remembering Grandma Rose's lessons about patient investing. When fall came, I hugged Rachel goodbye and moved into my dorm at Redwood State. My roommate Claire took one look at my sparse belongings and immediately offered to share her mini fridge. We're in this together now. My mom always says college friends become family. That simple kindness brought tears to my eyes. Perhaps family wasn't just about blood after all. I found a job at the college library, working evening shifts between classes. The library became my sanctuary, quiet, orderly, and predictable. During those late nights shelving books, I'd often wear Grandma Rose's locket, finding comfort in this small piece of her as I built my new life. When relatives called, their questions were always probing, filled with the lies my parents had spread.
Do you have somewhere to sleep at night, dear? We heard you ran away.
Are you still refusing to work? Your parents are so worried.
I focused on proving them all wrong. In my freshman year, I joined the Business Students Association, despite my heavy work schedule. During a club meeting, I presented my ideas for improving the campus bookstore's efficiency. Professor Harrison, our faculty advisor, stayed after to talk.
That was an impressive analysis, Margaret. Have you considered applying for our competitive summer internship program?
The internship at Rivera and Associates changed everything. On my first day, I met Sofia Rivera, the firm's founder.
So, you're the student who revolutionized the campus bookstore's operations. Show me what else you can do.
Under Sofia's mentorship, I learned what Grandma Rose's business lessons looked like in practice. By summer's end, Sofia offered me a part-time position during school.
Your grandmother taught you well, Margaret. I see her spirit in your work ethic.
I froze, never having mentioned Grandma Rose.
Rose Chen was a legend in our circles. She broke barriers for women in business.
I didn't make the connection until I saw you wearing her locket. Tears welled up in my eyes as Sofia shared stories of Grandma Rose I'd never heard, of deals she'd made, barriers she'd broken, lives she'd changed. The holidays could have been hard, but between Rachel's family and my growing circle at Rivera and Associates, I was never alone. That Christmas, Sofia invited me to the firm's holiday party. As I stood among successful professionals, wearing a dress I'd bought with my internship earnings, I felt Grandma Rose's presence strongly.
I'd like to introduce you to someone. Margaret, this is James Anderson, CEO of Anderson Consulting.
Sofia tells me you're carrying on Rose Chen's legacy. We've been watching your progress with great interest.
By my senior year, I had job offers from 3 top firms. I chose Anderson Consulting, where James had created a special leadership development program. Graduation day arrived, bright and clear. As I stood on stage accepting my diploma with highest honors, I spotted Sofia, Rachel, and Claire cheering. That evening, at the celebration dinner Sofia organized, James pulled me aside.
We've created a new division focusing on sustainable business practices. I want you to lead it.
5 years passed in a whirlwind of success. Each promotion brought new challenges. Each challenge, new victories. I kept my grandma's lessons alive by mentoring young professionals, especially those struggling to find their place in the corporate world.
I can't thank you enough, Miss Chen. You're the only one who believed in me.
My newest mentee reminded me so much of myself at that age. Now, as my 30th birthday approached, I had a secret. For years, I'd been saving and investing, just as Grandma Rose had taught me. 3 weeks before my birthday, I stood in an empty penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park.
Congratulations, Ms. Chen. It's all yours.
That evening, I posted on social media for the first time in years. Just me, standing in my beautiful empty apartment. A week later, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. My mother's voice came through, sweet as honey and just as sticky.
Margaret, darling, we saw your gorgeous apartment. Your father and I would love to celebrate your birthday at home with family.
I arrived at my parents' house in my Mercedes, wearing Grandma Rose's locket. The house looked tired, with peeling paint and an overgrown lawn. Inside, Thomas sat on the worn couch, jobless and living at home, beside his pregnant wife.
Thomas is just between opportunities right now. But your success. Tell us about your new apartment.
As relatives arrived, I stood up, touching Grandma Rose's locket for strength. You know, Grandma Rose taught me that success isn't just about money. It's about integrity, about keeping promises. She also taught me about forgiveness, not for the ones who hurt you, but for yourself. I opened the locket, removing a folded paper. Grandma Rose's last letter to me. She knew what you'd do with her inheritance. That's why she set up a separate account for me years before. She believed in preparing for all possibilities.
Margaret,
I'm establishing a scholarship fund in Grandma Rose's name for students who, like me, need to forge their own path. Later that evening, in my new apartment, surrounded by true friends and chosen family, Sophia raised her glass.
To Rose Chen's legacy, and to Margaret, who proved that the strongest flowers can bloom anywhere.
As I looked around at these faces, my real family, I touched Grandma Rose's locket and smiled. Some legacies aren't about money or inheritance. They're about the strength to write your own story.